Hi, Stacy.
Hey, Tim.
How you doing?
Doing great.
What you got going on today?
Not a whole heck of a lot, just another Friday.
Just another Friday. We're talking. Yeah, I would like to do your idea of starting the race, just another 5K. I think that would be an awesome idea. Today we're here with Chip Wilcot of Germantown Hills Fire Department, and you are the chief?
The fire chief, correct.
All right. Tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
The fire department in general is primarily a volunteer agency.
Mm-hmm.
My position is a volunteer, though we do have some staff. We staff an ambulance around the clock, and then we have some we call the day crew. Some couple guys from 7 to 5 Monday to Friday during business hours when most of our volunteers are out of the community. So there's some folks there now, and then other than that, we're primarily a volunteer agency. I'm in charge of the day-to-day operations.
So how big of an area does Germantown cover?
We have about 9 square miles in our fire district.
Okay.
So geographically, the footprint of it's not very big.
Okay. So in our area, I live in Germantown, so that's you're my fire department.
Yeah.
I've only had one dealing with the fire department, and I had just moved in there, and I had made a nice 30-foot area to do a little bonfire area, and it's allowed in that area, and started a fire. And of course somebody down the street was from Colorado, and they saw the fire, and of course when I started the fire it kind of lit up in the tree, so he called the fire station, and I'd swear that probably 4 or 5 different fire departments came that day to my house, and I'm like, I thought I could do a fire here, but yeah, I figured there were at least 3 fire departments that showed up. So in our area there's Spring Bay.
Yes.
They volunteered?
Yes, they are.
What other volunteer fire departments?
Right around us, Spring Bay is off to our west. We run a lot of mutual aid calls with them. Metamora to our east, we run calls with them. They're volunteer as well. And then the city of East Peoria is a full-time fire department, and occasionally we will help each other with things. And then just outside of East Peoria, the Northern Tazewell Fire District is volunteer, and Washington's also is volunteer. So those are our neighbors that we border with, that we work with the most.
Wow.
Occasionally for something bigger, we'll travel out a little farther or bring people in from a little farther. But most of the time we can handle that just with the folks that surround us.
So what got you started in fire protection?
Well, back in high school, I was a photographer, and not old enough to be on the town of Downs on the other side of Bloomington is where I started my career. Was not old enough to be a member, but did some photography work for them and was intrigued by the investigative aspect of it. So I went to school at Eastern Kentucky University, got a degree in fire safety engineering from down there, and did not go the fire service route for a career out of college. I went to work for State Farm for a while, but have been involved in the fire service ever since I was 16 at the different places that we lived.
Wow.
So being a volunteer, how young do you guys accept volunteers?
Have to be out of high school.
Okay, so 18.
And be out of high school. So if you turn 18 during high school, you gotta wait till you're done.
Okay. But you'll take them as young as 18, done with high school.
Absolutely.
And then you start training them.
Yep.
So what does that look like?
We have regular trainings a couple times a month in the evenings, and
Okay.
then there are extra things that we do. There's fire schools around different counties and things that will have fire schools throughout the year, primarily in the summertime. There's a certification that's just been changed to its basic operations firefighter, and that is about 3 semesters long of a couple nights a week, and then some state tests given by the state fire marshal's office. And then there's a couple other classes that are part of that curriculum, and not separate classes you have to take. The 40-hour hazardous materials operations class and some other things. So by the time you have that basic certification, you're pretty well rounded.
Wow. And so does they become volunteers then?
Yes.
And then what if they wanted to not be a volunteer and be on the pay to be a firefighter?
Basically, you would have to start testing, the testing procedures for the career departments, East Peoria, around here, East Peoria, Peoria, Pekin, are the main ones in the greater Peoria area.
Sure.
And then the larger towns around the state. And we lose a lot of volunteers too.
Do you?
Full-time jobs, yeah.
to regular full-time jobs, but not necessarily, because is there a need that you guys have for firefighters that are paid or mostly volunteer? Because you guys are surrounded by volunteers. That's really amazing.
Yeah, we always need volunteers.
Okay.
And then our staff, our daytime staff, folks come and go. They'll kind of use this, a lot of them as a stepping stone. So
Sure.
they will volunteer with us or work on our day crew,
Mm-hmm.
and then move on to be a full-time career firefighter somewhere else.
Is there a physical requirement for being a fireman? Like you have to carry somebody?
In the volunteer service, no. But to get hired with a career, there are physical agility tests that you have to pass. There's some time stamps on. You have to complete certain functions and tasks within a certain amount of time. Be able to carry, I don't know what the weights are, but weights up a ladder and distances and things like that are required to. You have to pass that even to qualify, go through the application process.
Okay.
Do they check that again as you get older?
No, once you're in, you're in.
Okay.
But I mean, they do keep an eye on people and,
Okay.
and do physicals and things just to make sure.
And health, just to make sure
Yeah.
everybody's good to go.
Yeah, make sure there's no other underlying issues and things that could give them some problems.
So what does a typical day look like for you
You
as
never.
fire chief?
Okay.
There
Well, yeah,
probably never
yeah.
is a
Yeah,
typical
well,
day,
that's, yeah,
but
the other things that I do add to that as well.
sure.
If I'm going to be around the daytime, if I'm going to be in town, I'll let the day crew know that I'm going to be there. In case something happens, I'll be there to back them up. Yeah, so administratively for me, phone calls and emails and things like that. They'll call and say, something's broken on the fire truck, something's broken on the ambulance. Got to coordinate getting it fixed. Figure out something we can do, or have to take it to somebody, or whatever. Things of that nature. And then we're constantly looking for staff.
Okay.
So accepting applications, doing interviews with folks, background checks on people, things like that.
I grew up in a small town, Triumph, Illinois, which is just north of Utica, and we were surrounded by fire department. The volunteers. Two of my the four brothers were firemen, and it's just something that kind of gets in your blood a little bit, and it's something that I've always been interested in, obviously because of it. But like I said, it's something that's in your blood sometimes.
It is. It becomes another family unit with the folks there, and you go through some very trying things. We got to be there to support each other.
Yeah.
So it is just another little family unit that you get to know and participate with.
And you get to learn a lot of different things. It's for ours, we were near Starved Rock, so they did rappelling and rescues, different types of rescues and things like that. So you go through different types of training.
Yeah, we don't really have any. They call it high angle rescue. We don't really have a need for that.
Right.
But the medical aspects of things. I mean, that's what the bulk of our calls are. And then extrication, auto extrication, using the jaws of life. Those kind of tools and things. And those principles fall into other things that happen. Somebody gets trapped in something or whatever. You may not use the jaws of life, but the process involved of how are we going to get somebody out without hurting them anymore, or depending on what it is. So those principles all apply to that. Firefighting, itself, structural firefighting, vehicles, wildland firefighting. If the situation you were in got off into the woods and
Right.
things, how do we deal with that? And then water supply can be a challenge out in the country, where you don't have fire hydrants every few hundred feet pop up to hook a hose to. So we have to truck all the water in. So there's a process. It's kind of an art form to not run out of water in the country.
Wow.
You have a big fire going. You're going through 400, 500, 600 gallons of water a minute. The average tanker is 2,000, 2,500 gallons of water. So it takes several of those to constantly be dumping in the dump tanks, going back to the fill site, and just keep that cycle going. So just keeping water moving in the country by itself is a challenge and an art form.
And the cool thing is you get to play with things like fire trucks. And
Yes, there are a lot of
fun stuff.
It's all equipment. There's no toys.
Well,
It's
yeah.
not toys, kids.
It is. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of neat equipment, new technology coming out.
Yeah.
Things in the medical world coming out. We just got a machine to do the mechanical part of CPR for us.
Wow.
It's about $15,000, $16,000 investment, but it's perfect CPR. it doesn't get tired, your back doesn't hurt, you know, it just goes. And the worst thing you gotta do is change the battery on it.
Wow.
So these technological advancements are
So it does the
wonderful.
breathing plus the
Just
the
the
chest.
just the compressions.
Okay.
The mechanical part of the compressions.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, I think of all the different stories that my brothers would tell me, and I'm sure you have a lot of interesting stories of things. There's sometimes sad things that you go through, but the joy or the rescues must be also pretty exhilarating.
Yeah, it is. There was a story in Germantown that I can't talk too much about it, but
Sure.
everybody seems to know about. You know, something like that is what makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah.
You know,
Wow.
when that happens. But
So what else do you do besides fight fires?
I work for an organization called MABUS, the Mutual Aid Box Alarm System.
Okay.
It is a statewide fire mutual aid organization. I'm responsible for the west central part of the state. We have a lot of equipment that MABUS has purchased over the years and distributed throughout the state. Once a year, I go to each, we call them divisions. Generally, they're by county, but not all of them. Do a visit with them, check out the equipment, making sure it's being taken care of, it's accounted for, they know how to use it, things like that. But MABUS also has sponsored some special teams. And the closest example, closest to home here, was when the tornado hit Washington. We have some technical rescue teams that MABUS has sponsored tens of thousands of dollars of equipment for several teams dotted throughout the state, and hundreds of thousands of dollars of training. And primarily they're full-time fire departments because of the amount of time involved, and it's hard for volunteers to do. The hangar rescue you mentioned is one of the disciplines, and there's others. So when something like that happens, they pack up all this equipment and go to Washington or wherever the things are. So we kind of oversee that to make sure that their training is all continuing education is going on, certifications are taken care of, and the equipment's all being taken care of.
So you during the during this tornado, we happened to be at church at that time, and you were looking at the radar and deciding when to throw the sirens on.
Correct.
So you're
Yep.
in charge of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that what other details do you do? What other things do you do?
That's the bulk of it. I also operate a business doing residential garage doors as well.
Yeah. What's that company?
The Tri-County Door Doctor.
Oh, okay, great.
So between those three things, I keep pretty busy.
Yeah, yeah. Volunteer life can be a little
Yeah.
bit challenging sometimes, but you're involved with a lot of different things too.
Yes, a lot of
So,
things.
do you volunteer for other things?
At church, at Great Oaks Community Church, I'm one of the technical guys.
Okay.
Do lights and sound and things like that there.
Okay.
And that's about the extent of it. I don't have much more time. I'm finding that I'm having to decline things now.
I understand that. Sometimes the no is hard to get.
Yeah.
So when I think about fire safety, I think about doing the drills and everything, and my son's in Scouts, so one of his things was we had to actually do a fire drill at our house.
Mhm.
What kind of fire prevention should we have at home?
Well, the fire prevention, October is Fire Prevention Month.
Great.
And every October, I talk to every kindergartner in Germantown Hills. They all come to the fire station in groups of 2 or 3 classes. And we talk about stop, drop, and roll, what to do if the smoke detector goes off. If you ever had to call 911, what kind of information would you have to provide to them? And then several of the preschools as well in the area. So one of the most important things, and people don't think about it, is checking the batteries in your smoke detectors, making sure they're up to snuff. They've got about a 10-year life, and you need to cycle them out. Another problem is carbon monoxide alarms. They have about roughly a 7-year life cycle, and they need to be replaced, and folks just don't think about that kind of thing.
My brother had a situation where he was using a log fireplace, and they woke up and everybody was dizzy, and my niece could hardly walk down the stairs. It's carbon monoxide, and it's something they've been using the fireplace for a long time. You wouldn't think about it, but they're just now requiring carbon monoxide detectors in homes, correct?
Yes, it is the law in the state of Illinois,
Okay.
as well as smoke detectors.
And why is it, we never used to have those?
I think in the past we probably just didn't know. But anything that burns fossil fuels, natural gas or propane, if the mix of the fuel to the air is not just correct, you can have excess amounts of carbon monoxide produced. You can also run into problems with the heat exchanger of a furnace. The flame heats up the heat exchanger and then the air passes through it. And if you get a crack in that, it will allow the combustion gases to mix with the air, and that's how it gets into the house. So we don't know that there's a problem with that until somebody gets sick or something like that. So the detectors will alarm at a very low level, way before it's going to be harmful to people.
It's something you can die in your sleep and you don't even know.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Wow.
So it's very necessary to have them in the house.
So what should we be looking for when we purchase those? Is there a certain kind? Because now you got plug-in stuff, you got battery-operated stuff, you've got all kinds, and then also locations. Can you speak to us about that?
Plug-in with a battery backup is the best,
Okay.
or hardwired into the house.
And you can do that for both smoke detectors and the carbon?
Yes.
Okay.
Need to have carbon monoxide detectors on every floor.
Okay.
Smoke detectors should be in every bedroom, and then in the hallways and the common areas.
In every bedroom?
In every bedroom.
I haven't heard that one. Did you?
I mean, from a practical standpoint, you should.
Okay.
Probably don't want one in the kitchen because you get so many false alarms from
Sure.
oopses when you're cooking. That people have a tendency then to disconnect them, so it kind of defeats the purpose. But hardwired with battery backup is by far the best.
Okay.
And then if they're all wired together, you know, if your bedroom's on the second floor of the house, you have a problem in the basement. 3 o'clock in the morning, the smoke detector goes off, you might not hear it. But if they're all hardwired together, when one goes off, it activates the rest of them.
Oh, wow.
From my understanding, it's within 15 feet is the requirement of a bedroom, but I can see having them in the bedroom because,
Practically speaking, you know, if you have a small child in the bedroom and the door is closed and there's a problem in the bedroom and there's no detector, by the time the smoke filters outside, it could be
It's
too late. Yeah.
I didn't even think about that, but I mean, with kids playing with matches and whatever else they can get their paws on, or
Yeah,
I can
or
see that.
you know, baby monitors sometimes fail. I mean, you know, devices and things that
Mechanicals.
have problems. Yeah.
Sure, I
Yeah.
didn't even think about that.
Yeah. So there really needs to be one inside every bedroom.
I had somebody asking me, okay, we have, our furnace is electric, so why should we have one?
If you have electric furnace, electric water heater, electric stove, you don't have to have one.
I've actually heard where, and my response was, well, your garage is attached to your house, and there's been cases where people have left their car on, especially with the new key fob or the keyless, and they're leaving the cars on, and it comes into the house.
Yeah, sure, it will filter in, absolutely.
But there's still electrical fires too, right? So,
Your smoke detector should cover that.
Right.
The carbon monoxide detector is just detecting carbon monoxide, which is a
Okay.
byproduct of combustion.
So you get that from the car smoke, you get it from your car, you get it from your water heater, you get it from fireplace and furnace,
Stove.
yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of sources that people just don't think of. There's a lot in a house.
Yeah, you know, and as the burners get some rust and things built up on them, or the burners in the stove and the oven get, you know, food particles and stuff, that will affect the mixture of air to fuel. So it's not all burning efficiently and properly, so that can create more carbon monoxide.
Question somebody had for me actually this morning on one of our other shows was, does it detect, like if your gas stove, if there's a gas leak, like the thing that happened, where was that, south of Morton, was it?
South of Washington.
South,
Yeah.
yeah. So does a carbon monoxide detector sense that gas?
Carbon monoxide detectors do not.
Okay.
There is, I want to say this made by Kitty, a carbon monoxide and a gas detector built into one unit. That is a very good idea.
Okay. Do you know much about what happened in Washington?
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, we were out there helping them. We're out there helping them haul water
Okay.
and putting it out. Yeah.
Wow.
but then the carbon monoxide detectors are supposed to go down low.
It doesn't make a whole lot of difference with them because
Okay.
the furnace and things are going to, as the air flows around the house, it's going to mix it all up.
Okay.
So the main thing is just that you have them in the house on each floor.
Okay. Okay, because someone told me that the carbon monoxide was going to be lower because it was heavier, and then with the smoke that you wanted it higher. So
Off the top of my head, I can't cite that one.
that's fine. I'm just looking to be educated because I want to have everything where it's supposed to go.
Smoke definitely on the ceiling.
Okay.
Can be on the walls down within, I think, a foot.
Okay.
But the ceiling is the best.
I hadn't heard that one, but that's it. Yeah, that makes sense.
There's a little bit of a void space as the smoke will be traveling up when it hits the ceiling. Actually, there's a kind of void space in the corner for a while. So the ceiling is absolutely the best place to put them.
Oh wow.
And so back to the whole fire thing then too, and safety. You know, we've got fall coming upon us, and people are going to be doing all kinds of fires, right, Tim? And we'll try not to have the fire come.
Yeah,
they don't have to. So what is a proper safe way to have a little fire for s'mores, the roasting of hot dogs and stuff like that? Is there some advice on that?
The main thing with that is just to make sure there's no leaves and things around it.
Okay.
And if it's windy and really dry because it hasn't rained for a long time, you really need to pay attention, because a little, you little pop from a piece of wood, ember can go off into the woods and not realize it for an hour or two, and you've gone to bed, and next thing you know, we've got a whole hillside on fire. So the main thing is just pay attention.
So making sure you put it out completely, and the best way to put out a fire is just with water?
Yeah.
Okay, just douse it.
A lot. Yeah.
So in our area, we don't require a permit to burn, but there are certain areas that do. Peoria does, and
Yeah.
certain areas.
I don't think you can burn in Peoria at all.
No.
Yeah. So you need to check with your local.
Yep, every place is different. Some communities will allow you to burn leaves, some will not, some only during a certain time frame in the fall. But if you are burning leaves and yard waste and things, you need to have a competent person, not necessarily an adult, but somebody who can.
And it's always smart when you're burning leaves, especially around dry grass, to have at least something that, a hose, some kind of water to keep it.
Have your garden hose ready, hooked up and turned on, not in the garage, and I'll get it if there's a problem.
Right.
You need to have it ready ahead of time.
Okay. Any other fire advice?
Just be careful, common sense, that's the main thing.
Common sense isn't so common anymore.
That's the problem. Yeah.
What's the number one reason for fire in our area?
I don't know statistically what it would be.
Yeah. What's your feeling?
Failure of appliances and things like that.
Really?
Wow.
But then in the wintertime, you have a few chimney fires and things. As we approach the wood burning fire season, you need to have chimneys cleaned and inspected by a chimney sweep. They'll actually can put a camera down inside, look for cracks and things in the walls of the chimney. That's a really good idea. You need to have them clean because they'll have soot and things will build up on them. And if you have a good rip roaring fire in the fireplace, that can be hot enough to ignite the stuff that has settled on the walls. And then that leads to a fire in the attic and burn the roof off the house or whatever. So.
Wow.
That would be scary.
It would be. Anything else you want to add for fire safety?
Just be careful, pay attention to what you're doing. That's the main thing, is just paying attention and not getting distracted.
Speaking of just another 5K, you have a run coming up.
The 5K run the last Saturday of October. What was the date again?
Was it October 10th, I believe it?
No, the last Saturday.
Last Saturday. No, yeah, that wouldn't make sense, would it?
29th, October 29th.
Okay, October 29th, and that's at
At the Germantown Hills Fire Station. Yep.
Okay, how do people find out more about that?
GermantownHillsFD.com.
Okay.
There's some information on there about the 5K. We also have our annual Halloween costume contest that evening
Okay.
for little kiddos.
Will they be doing samples or examples of things that you guys do during the race or around the race time?
We will have a demonstration. After the race is done, as they're compiling all the results, we'll do a demonstration. We haven't selected what we're going to do yet this year, but we'll be doing something.
All right.
And for people interested in becoming a volunteer, how do they do that?
GermantownHillsFD.com or call the firehouse 309-383-4890.
Okay.
Or your local fire department, whatever it is. Numbers in the book, find it on Google, whatever.
I'm going to assume it's mostly men. Do you have any women on your
Yeah, we have several gals, yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
I never hear of any.
But mostly, yes, it is men.
Don't dial 911 if you want to volunteer. Right?
Correct.
Okay.
That is only for an emergency. That's what
Right.
we have to tell the kindergartners too.
Right.
Only
We're here with Chip Wilcot of Germantown Hills Fire Department. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
very much.
being here.
Appreciate it.